Oh my god, what a horrible mess! Very often we face extremely easy but not obvious shot where nothing bad can happen, and then we are not entirely sure what spin and speed apply to the cue ball. Due to very high pressure, we choose this worst option, what result with extremely painful and unexpected mistake. Each of us know this very well, right? So I think that we definitely need to change it. Right now and forever. So in this case, I'm going to show you top 10 common situations where players make mistakes due to different reasons, and then explain step by step what you should and shouldn't do during each specific situation. You just can't miss it. Let's go! We need to start this episode with these common situations where we need to make position for the 9 ball. The problem is that object ball is frozen to the long rail and many beginners have difficulties to hit it in correct point, what result with painful mistake. In my opinion, this is not a good option to apply low right spin and make position for the 9 ball to the top left area, because there is very high chance to scratch in the right side pocket, and additionally this spin increases risk that we do not hit object ball in right point. The key in this shot is to hit object ball and rail in the same time using a lot of left spin to cause the cue ball to use free rails and land for the 9 ball in the top left area of the table. And this kind of contact with object ball is extremely important because if we hit object ball first, then in most cases we miss this ball, but if we hit rail first, then cue ball follows a very strange path and hits right long rail, what ruin our chances to make position for the 9 ball. But on the other hand, we can see very interesting thing, because if we make perfect contact with object ball and rail at the same time and use topspin, then cue ball hits short rail very close to the bottom right corner, what result with not comfortable position for the 9 ball. But if you use center left spin, then cue ball hits short rail much earlier, and this causes it to follow much better path and land in very good position for the 9 ball. So in this case, in this situation, very important is to hit object ball and rail at the same time, and hit the cue ball at its center horizontal line to produce much better path and position for the 9 ball. We need to discover this situation where we experience very long shot where we have to cut object ball and make position for the 9 ball, which is located on the foot spot. And very often I can see players who try to slow roll this ball to make position for the 9 ball on the right side of the table. This attempt is not bad, but there is very high risk that we apply unintended side spin, which causes the cue ball to curve and miss the object ball. Additionally, if we hit the cue ball perfectly straight, then we can experience cut-induced roll factor, so despite the fact that we are hitting the object ball at its ghost ball, then cue ball will slightly push the object ball to the outside, resulting with miss. So in this case, we should avoid this kind of shot and use more speed to make our stroke more confident. And very good option in this situation is to hit the cue ball slightly above its center to cause it to follow its natural path and go around the 9 ball to the left side of the table. Using natural angles is extremely powerful thing in billiards and very often can increase our confidence during difficult shots where we need to use more rails during positioning. Looking forward for another common mistakes, we can find this situation where we need to play 4 ball from relatively high angle and make position for the 9 ball, which is located on the foot spot. This shot only looks very easy, but very often players try to cut this ball using very low speed to land for the 9 ball on the right side of the table. This is one of the biggest mistakes, because when we try to slow roll this ball, then there is high chance that we face cut-induced throw factor and cue ball will push object ball slightly to the outside, resulting with another painful mistake. And once again, we need to use more speed and hit the cue ball with higher confidence. We should let the cue ball to use more rails and make position for the 9 ball on the left side of the table. With this type of hit, we once again reduce cut-induced throw, and our stroke is much more confident than before. Using more confident stroke may be very helpful when we experience pressure situations, and you should consider it during this type of shots. In the fourth scenario, we face this extremely common situation where players still make a horrible mistake. We face perfect striking shot where both balls are very close to the bottom short rail, and we need to make position for the 9 ball which is located close to the top short rail. Because we don't have an angle, very often players try to force this shot and cheat the pocket to the certain side to cause the cue ball to go towards top half of the table. And in most cases it results with very bad mistake, because we can very easily misjudge this contact and miss the object ball. To escape this situation and make comfortable position for the 9 ball, we need to play one rail kick shot. Because object ball is very close to the rail and relatively close to the pocket, we can very easily calculate this kind of contact. First of all, we need to imagine ghost ball where cue ball needs to hit the object ball and measure the distance between center point of this ghost ball and edge of short rail. After this step, we need to carefully move this distance along the long rail, which will indicate our aiming point. So if we connect this point with current position of the cue ball, then we can see point on the rail's edge where we should hit the cue ball. And this is extremely powerful technique to calculate this kind of shot, but we need to remember to hit the cue ball with low speed and apply only a bit of topspin. During this shot, cue ball hits object ball from completely different angle and after contact with right long rail, going towards top area of the table to make perfect position for the 9 ball. We need to see this very interesting situation where once again many players have difficulties to find correct solution. If we try to pot object ball into the bottom left corner, then cue ball automatically scratch in the left side pocket, and same thing will happen if we try to pot 4 ball into the side pocket, but this time we scratch in the bottom left corner. Due to quite high angle, we need to place something like drag shot, so you should hit the cue ball very low and apply a bit more speed, which decreases before contact with object ball. And after this contact, cue ball going towards bottom short rail, and this is good idea to apply touch of left spin to reduce cut-induced throw factor and change path of the cue ball after contact with bottom short rail. And this kind of shot requires from us very high confidence to apply correct speed and spin to land in good place for the 9 ball. But if you don't feel this type of shot, then you can try this one, where we need to hit the cue ball with touch of low right spin and apply medium speed. During this shot, cue ball hits short rail first and follows very original path to land for the 9 ball from behind on the right side of the table. This shot only looks difficult, but the reality is completely different. The key will be to apply correct amount of side spin and control speed of the shot. And let's move forward to see this another common situations where it looks impossible to make a mistake, but reality is quite different. 4 ball is placed extremely close to the left corner pocket, but it is frozen to the short rail. And this makes a big difference, because many pool players try to slow roll this ball using a bit of topspin to make perfect position for the 9 ball in top left area. This choice is not bad, but due to fact that we face longer shot and object ball is frozen to short rail, then any wrong contact results with extremely frustrating mistake. And same thing will be if we try to apply bit of left spin to leave the cue ball in the top right area of the table. And this is very similar scenario like in first situation in this episode, and we need to hit the object ball and rail at the same time. This time it is highly recommended to apply a lot of right spin, because this spin helps us to pot object ball and send the cue ball towards top half of the table. And if you notice that the cue ball going towards left side of the table, it means that it touched rail first, but if cue ball going towards right side of the table using two rails, then contact between balls was perfectly at the same time. In following situation, we face another common layout where we experience very small angle of the 4-ball, and we need to make position for the 9-ball which is placed on the other side of the table. Very often I can see players who try to play this shot very hard and slightly cheat the pocket to move the cue ball using only one rail. And this is extremely bad mistake, because due to very high speed we can very easily miss this ball, especially if we try to cheat the pocket. This shot requires from us very smooth stroke, and in this case we need to hit the cue ball very high and apply touch of left spin. After this hit, cue ball use two rails and make position for the 9-ball, but we need to be very careful, because there is high chance that we can scratch or lost position for the 9-ball. So in this case, much better way is to play very smooth draw shot with touch of right spin, because then cue ball follows very safe path and lands for the 9-ball from behind. This shot is more difficult than previous one and requires from us high quality stroke, but there is much higher benefit, so this attempt is in my opinion worth to consider. We need to see this easy looking situation where we need to play object ball which is placed very close to the side pocket and make position for the 9-ball which is located on the foot spot. Due to very high angle, it is not good idea to slow roll this ball using a lot of right spin to stay in the left side of the table. This spin and speed result in most cases with impact of spin-induced throw factor, which in this situation slightly pushes the object ball to the outside. But we can very easily avoid problem with spin-induced throw by putting more speed, because with same spin we are leaving the cue ball on the right side of the table and object ball was not pushed by the cue ball to the outside. But if you don't feel this kind of shot, then we can once again let the cue ball to use more rails, and by applying a lot of left spin, we can leave it on the right side of the table with perfect position for the 9-ball. Going forward, we need to face this another common situation, where once again we need to play object ball which is placed close to the corner pocket. We experience long distance shot, and very often players try to slow roll the cue ball because we need to stay relatively low to have comfortable position for the 9-ball. If we misjudge speed of this shot, then cue ball follows its natural path and lands on the right side of the table, and we face not easy and thin cut shot on the 9-ball. And of course, there is very high chance that due to low speed applied to the cue ball, it can push the object ball to the outside, what results with miss. And same thing will happen if we try to experiment with high amount of side spin. Because we use low speed, then there is high chance that cue ball will curve and hit the object ball in completely wrong point. So in this case, once again we need to build more confident stroke and use more speed, and you should consider this option where I am hitting the cue ball very low with touch of left spin. Due to this hit, cue ball used 2 rails and going around the 9 ball to land in the left side of the table, with perfect position for the final ball. And finally, to end this episode, we need to see this very interesting situation, where we have only last 9 ball on the table to play, but the big problem is fact that both balls are frozen to the same long rail. If we try to aim this shot straight using center ball, then practically always you miss this ball. And this happens because cue ball hits rail first, and this causes it to follow different path and hit the 9 ball in wrong point. First of all, you need to aim this 9 ball perfectly straight, and then apply low left spin using front hand English system, so I move my bridge without moving my grip. And if we hit the cue ball using this technique, then we can see that it slightly curves and comes back to the natural line right before contact with object ball. The crucial key during this shot will be to apply correct speed, because cue ball needs to have enough time to curve and hit the object ball at its goal ball. But if we connect all of these things, then we can escape this situation and pot 9 ball without bigger problems. I hope that this video will help you to decide what should you do in specific situations on the table, and you will be able to leave a thumbs up for me. If you want to find more serious knowledge of how to play pool, then you definitely need to hit the subscribe button to never miss videos like this. Anyway, it will be great if you let me know in the comments what do you think about these situations and what is your biggest nightmare when you face not obvious shots. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next lesson. Take care.